Hi everyone, let's draw a bluebird today. We're going to start with our reference photo and some paper and a pencil. To begin with, let's break it down into some simple shapes. I want you to look at the bluebird itself. I see a circle here, a small circle for the head, and the body could be contained in a larger circle. And if we start out with those, we'll have some measuring points. So let's begin with a circle about the size of the bluebird's head. And it doesn't have to be an exact circle. Sometimes people have trouble drawing perfect circles, but we just want this to be a map to begin with. So I'm going to do one about the size of its head. And a lot of times for measuring, I use my pencil, putting the tip of the pencil at one side of the circle and my thumbnail at the other side, and I kind of measure to see if I'm close. And the same for the body. So if I were to do a circle down here, it would be about this wide. And I'm gonna just generally eye this myself. Maybe put a mark here and a mark here. See if those are correct. Measure my circle, looks about right. And I might try to put even distance from top to bottom and then connect those to make another circle. And this will be the body. And again, it can just be a lightly sketched line. It doesn't have to be a perfect circle. You can tell mine isn't. We just generally want something to look at for kind of a map as we make our shapes. Okay, so we have a small circle for the head and the body. Now I'm going to put a cross and evenly divide each one of these into 4 parts. So halfway down the circle this way on both of them. Top to bottom and side to side. Okay, so now that we have that for measuring, we can do some other small measurements. Now I'm going to look that if I were to put this circle around this bird's head and a cross section here, it looks like the eye is about right at the edge on the inside of this quadrant right here. So I'm going to put a circle right inside that quadrant. And then I'm looking at the beak. It looks like it goes right through the middle of that eye, the base of it. So I'm going to generally look right across here, this side, and I see that I want my beak point to come, it looks like a straight line almost from the end of the beak to its eye. So I'm going to kind of do the same thing here, a line to a line. Now this is, if you look closely at your reference photo, if you're printing it off, it's a diamond shape almost that goes out from close to the eye. I'm measuring this distance here from the eye to the end of the beak. So here's eye to the end of the beak. And then it goes down and then tilts up. See this angle here? I want to be sure that that angle tilts up. So there is my beak. All right, now I'm going to work on these curves here on the neck. And I see that the bottom of the head comes out. If I were to half the beak from here to here, this is almost halfway. So here to here, halfway, this is about where the top of his neck comes out, but it curves down. So I'm looking at shapes. So I'm going to come inside the circle a little bit and then go back out to the big circle. Okay, so I see that it curves in here and then it goes back out. Starting at the beak, I'm going to curve inside the little circle and then curve down to meet the big circle. Now on the top, it comes out a little bit of a point and then down to about this breaking point. So I'm going to come do the same thing. I'm going to come out a little bit flat and then down to my middle mark here on the circle. Now this, if this circle went all the way around here, we can see that the bird's back comes down on the inside of that circle. So I'm just going to be looking at this line. It kind of curves up and then down, and I'm going to try to imitate that from here. Inside of the circle, it goes up a little bit and then down, and I'm going to come down. Now I neglected to say, I'm going to divide this quadrant right here, this quarter, into 3 parts, 3 even parts. One here and one here. And that should be almost even across there. Okay, so what I brought this down to was that point. Come down, up a little bit, and then down to this point. And that's going to give me the back of the bird. Now, as you can see, there's another triangle down here. I see another shape here. So I'm going to draw that, and it looks like it comes from almost this point. I made my 3 marks here, right? I'd say it comes a little below that point. So I'm going to come down and I'm going to guess kind of on the distance of that. If you want to measure again, you can put a point right at the base of the bird's body, fingernail at the bottom of those white feathers, body, bottom of the feathers, and I'm pretty right on there. Okay. Now the rest of the tail feathers here are almost the same distance. So I'm checking distances from here to here and here to here. So I'm going to go almost the same from here to here and then draw myself another line down here. And just looking at the shape, I'm looking here, it's almost like a rectangle, the bottom of a rectangle down on this side. Okay, so that dropped my tail feathers in there, and they actually come up above here. Now this wing comes out away from here, and it looks like about a little over 1/2 inch from the tail feathers up here to where those wings end. And they look like they would almost go right above the halfway mark here. So if this is my center pivot, I think they're going to end up about right here. So I'm checking distances all the time. I'm looking from here to here. So I'm measuring this distance from his back to where those wings go. All right, so I'm going to come down, kind of follow the shape. They go along the back, and then they come out just a little above the rest of the feathers there. And then again, I'm looking at this shape. It's a long, skinny triangle that goes back up. Long, skinny triangle. Make that here. And then it connects, and I may have to adjust my lines a little bit. Okay. Now the legs come out. If you notice here, if this was our big circle, the legs come out almost where this circle would continue on. So if I'm looking here, the legs come out, I would say, from our mark, our little, remember the marks we made here? A third and a third. Let's have that leg come straight down out of that mark. All right, now I'm looking at this shape on the inside of the 2 legs. It's like a triangle, so I'm going to try to imitate that shape. See that? And that's the other leg. So I'm always looking at shapes in between to make my drawing. And then the feet are 3 toes that come out, one up, one here, and one here. Well, it also looks like a T kind of laying on its side. So I'm going to just look at those bumps. I'm going to make a general lines first. Here's 1, here's 2, and there's the other side of the T. It's a T laying on its side. And then this one is on the top of the rock that he's on, so it just basically comes up and bumps down. All right, so those are our shapes. Very simple drawing. Okay, so you've basically done the beginning drawing for a bluebird. Now at the end of this, we would just go in and erase all the lines that we don't need. And that would give us the bird that we want to see. So let's try that. Set my pencil here and get my eraser out. And I'm using a kneaded eraser that you can clean by kneading it. That's what's so cool about these. You can find a clean edge with it. And then I'm going to go back in and erase the lines I don't need. So I'm going to come in here. We don't need the lines from the circle, the big circle. We don't need the lines in the middle. We don't need any of these circle lines on the inside of the bird. So I'm going to erase all of those on the outside. Get rid of all of those. And you can go back in if you lost any of your edges. Now this eye has a little bit of an almond shape. So I'm going to go back in, look at the picture, always look at your reference, and kind of make little points on the edge of that circle so my eye looks more real. And I'm going to pay a little more attention to the beak also. It has a little curve on the top of it. And then a little bit of a V that comes around the front of his head. And then another V kind of that goes down to the base of his bottom, the bottom part of his beak. Okay, and then the line that separates them. So I have the actual drawing in now. So we want to go in and finish up the feet now. And I just want you to look at the shapes. We're drawing the shapes on his feet. This claw is going up and over the edge of whatever he's on, a post or a rock, whatever this is. So there's the long middle toe, and then this one just kind of curves out and around. It's kind of foreshortened because it's going up and over. And then this one in the back just barely shows over the top. Okay, so those are our feet there. Now these, we're going to refine a little bit from just being a T. And this one comes down, and you kind of want to get those joints in there. And then the little bit of a talon at the end. And so I'm just kind of following this bumpy kind of jointed look of their foot. Now this one just kind of has a wide S curve up and then again back down. And the same on this one over here. It's going back around, hanging on to whatever he's perched on, and comes down. All right, so there is our foot. And then be sure to include the little tuft of feathers that come over the top of his leg there. So you might want to go in and just add some map here about where your shadow areas are going to be. This is in shadow here, this is light here. You might want to add the wings in here. And again, I'm just looking at shapes, adding where these long feathers come down to. They start all the way up here and then they come all the way to the bottom. And then along here, it looks like there lies another distinction of that wing there. Kind of bumps up on the back, comes down, and these feathers collect over here. So they start to come up from the bottom here. Draw those lines in. And then right along the top here, I'm looking at these bumps right here and those top feathers. I'm just going to imitate that bottom shape. I'm always looking at shapes. And then just very loosely put in suggestions of where those feathers are laying. And notice that the angle starts to come down as it gets nearer to his back. And then this is just kind of real soft, feathery, tufted. One more shape I'm noticing here is the difference in color. A little bit darker here, so I might go in and add that so I know where, when I'm painting or colored pencil or however you want to color this in, I know that that's an area where the values get a little darker. There's some up here right by between his beak and his eye. That's going to be a little bit darker. So I'm just looking at shapes and paying good attention to where I might need to know any markers. There's a little difference in the feathers here. I might add that shape in so I remember that. Okay, and that comes up. And then again, when we get into the colored part, be always looking at the differences in values. Darker blue up here, and then it kind of slowly transitions and gradates into this beautiful fluffy white. But there's a little bit of color under here, and you almost get to see a little bit of the complement of blue, which is orange, a light peach color underneath, under the down of his belly there. If you squint your eyes down, you're going to notice this is the lightest light here where the light's hitting it, and so make sure you leave that. So that is our preliminary drawing for our mountain bluebird. I hope you've enjoyed this, and we appreciate you coming into class. I hope you'll take the next one and learn how to finish this out in color, whether you do it in watercolor or colored pencil. I can't wait to see what you create. Thanks for joining us, and stop in again to artwithlisa.com.